How's that grab you? As I think Roger Moore said in one of the James Bond movies. Welcome to episode 135 of the Notcast. Today I am going to be talking about something that happened 3 years ago today. It is the 1st of September 2021, and that means that 3 years ago today I was in Berlin watching U2 on the eXperience of Innocence Tour. It was the famous show where Bono lost his voice and the crowd sang for him, but only for a couple of songs before the show was postponed until the end of the tour. So today I'm going to be talking about probably the last episode about U2, which I'm going to be doing apart from maybe a one-size-fits-all ranking later on. And I'm going to be talking about the band's 2018 tour, the eXperience of Innocence Tour. Here's a tour program. The set list, the themes that were going on in that tour, the imagery, the content of the songs, and everything that went with it. I think I have to start off by saying that the period from 2015 to 2018 will probably be seen as a glorious Indian summer to be a U2 fan. The band released 2 albums, one in 2014, one in 2017. They played 4, I think, American tours, 3 European tours, a South American tour, 217 shows, 91 different songs, and they brought back songs that they hadn't played for 35, 40 years in some cases. These tours saw The Ocean returning to the set list. It also saw, rare and unusual appearances by songs like When Love Comes to Town, as well as songs like Zeropa, Dirty Day, Exit, Trip Through Your Wires, all Acrobat being played for the first time. All these weird and unusual songs that pleased all the U2 setlist geeks like me and my friend Mark Peterborough on Twitter, who does the setlist geek PDFs that chronicle the U2 tours. I think it was 9 shows on the eXperience of Innocence tour. For me, it was probably the best single presentation I'd seen U2 deliver, actually. And by the way, I saw Pop Mart. Pop Mart blew my tiny fragile eggshell mind as a 20-something. And I have to say, actually, that bearing in mind that when I saw U2 play Pop Mart on the 22nd of August 1997, it now means that I have been seeing U2 live for 24 of my 48 years, which is pretty staggering when I think about it. Sometimes I think that, as we change and grow and evolve over time, we don't really change. We refine who we are, but, you can't have a major change of who you are. I'm also going to be talking about the fan club releases. There have been 3 fan club releases from the 2018 tour, which I will get to in time. In order of recording, there is the Innocence and Experience Live fan club release. There is the very recently arrived U2 Live at the Apollo. This disc is why I have not done this episode sooner. Since soon as it was announced, I was like, well, hopefully this will come in the post before I get round to the episode. And I've been putting this episode off for a little while. And then the eXperience and Innocence Tour Live in Berlin fan club DVD from last year. I saw 2 shows in Berlin, 2 shows in Manchester, the 2 shows in London, 2 shows in Dublin, and the last show of the tour in Berlin on the 13th of November 2018. And whilst you may not have known this, people that knew me at the time knew I was going to an awful lot of live shows. So in early November, I went to, between the 3rd and the 18th of November, so that's in 2 weeks by my standards, I saw Slayer, I saw U2 in Dublin for 2 nights, I saw New Order, I saw U2 again in Berlin, and then I saw the Twilight Sad in Brussels, which makes me some kind of international man of mystery or misery, depending on your point of view. Anyway, we'll start off by talking about the opening to the tour. So the opening to the tour in the US, it was the song Love Is All That We Have Left, the first song off the Songs of Experience album, which is a beautiful song, alongside some imagery of an MRI scan, not, by the way, Bono's MRI scan. In Europe, this was changed with Charlie Chaplin's famous speech for humanity, which comes from the climax of a film called The Great Dictator. If you don't know The Great Dictator, it is worth watching. I'm sure you can imagine which dictator that's meant to look like. So much so that Hitler himself apparently investigated possibly having Charlie Chaplin killed because he was so offended by the movie. And now the plot of The Great Dictator, if you don't know, I don't want to spoil it too much for you, but a hairdresser who has an oddly similar resemblance to a dictator becomes the actual dictator when the actual dictator himself is indisposed. And using the speech for humanity at the end of the film, which, if I recall correctly, was Chaplin's first talkie, was very much designed, I think, and used in the context of the live show as a knowing comment upon the political situation that we had at the time. So 2018, we don't have Boris Johnson as Prime Minister in the UK, but we do have Donald Trump, a failed reality TV star, somehow becoming president, in much the same way that Ronald Reagan, a actor, became president, and Arnold Schwarzenegger became the governor of California. Is that politics became just another form of celebrity, and it didn't matter whether you were competent or capable at it. The Great Dictator, by parachuting in somebody who looks like a dictator but doesn't actually have the skills to be one, is also kind of like commenting upon that in a very prescient way. I strongly recommend this film. The first time I saw this film, by the way, was 1st of January 1999. It was on British television, 6 o'clock in the morning. I had been to see New Order at the Alexandra Palace with the Chemical Brothers and Underworld, and I rolled in through the front door probably around about 5:30. I saw that Charlie Chaplin's The Great Dictator was on television, and because I'd already been up for something like 2 days, I just stayed up for an extra couple of hours before I went to sleep. I also did an all-nighter a couple of weeks ago, as some of you will know, when I had a non-epileptic seizure of some description and stayed up for 39 hours as a result in A&E. I do not recommend it. I was knackered. So The Great Dictator, the speech for humanity, opens the show on the Experience of Innocence tour. And the Experience of Innocence tour also featured, as an opening, it featured wartime shots of every tour stop in Europe, with visual imagery of ruined buildings, desolation, hurt, pain, the results and consequences of war. The message is pretty clear that war is stupid and people are stupid, to quote Culture Club, but it led into the first live track that the band played on the show, which was The Blackout. And I think The Blackout is one of the finest opening songs for a tour that there has been. It's also a song which, obviously, bearing in mind my recent health scare, when I was watching the Berlin DVD today, I kind of realised that I experienced a blackout as well. And so The Blackout is about, and the second song, Lights of Home, are lyrically all focused upon, some kind of moment where you stare death in the face, or you stare, your mortality, the end of your life, or a major change to your life, straight in the face, and you realise that things could be very, very different indeed. The lyric that I think the whole of the song, The Blackout, hinges on is blackout, it is clear who you are will appear. And what that lyric is saying right from the start of the show is very much around, you need to boil down your personality, your core ethics, your beliefs, and everything into all that you can't leave behind, and then you take it with you as you go along. The imagery that's in the screen around the beginning of the show features, as I said, a photograph of an MRI of a crew member, not of Bono themselves. And it's around having almost like a crisis where you realise that things are very, very serious indeed. It's a fantastic opening track, and I think it's one of U2's best songs ever, by the way. And that's followed up by the second song, which is the Lights of Home. And the Lights of Home reprises the melody from Iris at the end, where Bono sings "Free yourself to be yourself, if only you could see yourself." I won't sing it because he is better at it than I am, and obviously a professional. But that lyric also kind of ties in with the lyrical themes that we've got through The Blackout. And the opening lines of The Lights of Home, when played live, "I shouldn't be here, I should be dead, I can see the lights of home in front of me." And then the projection that surrounds the band whilst they perform is that of a satellite photograph of the town in which they are performing alongside the date. Bono had a couple of fairly major events. He had the bike crash in 2014. He also had an unspecified health scare in 2016, although you could probably kind of assumed that it was something pretty damn serious, which delayed the release of the Songs of Experience album from 2016 to 2017. And what those two songs together kind of were around also going, you've got like a moment of clarity or a moment of surrender, a moment where you realize that the road is shorter in front of you than it is behind. Death is described in the song as another road that you can't take with a friend, and very much around the saying going, right, we're facing not end times but a very, very serious time, and we need to be very aware of who we are, and what we believe in. The third song on most of the shows was I Will Follow, taking it all the way back to the band's roots. I Will Follow being the first major song of the first album, Boy. And I Will Follow was a love song to Bono's mother, written apparently on his 18th birthday, around how he wanted to follow her wherever she went after she died. It's almost like a hymn to suicide, but at the same point it's also a hymn to staying alive, and it ties in very, very clearly with the themes that we've got from the first two songs in the set. The fourth song is normally Gloria. And when I was watching them play Gloria, I was thinking, first, it's a fantastic song. Why don't they play Gloria all the time? I can't believe it's taken me until the age of, well, considerably old to see U2 play Gloria live. But Gloria is a song about religion, it's a song about love, it's about belief. As I've mentioned in previous episodes, when Bono sings about love, he was also singing about God being love, and the idea that that relationship that he's got with a major power in his life, be that in the form of a relationship, whatever that relationship is with, it might be with a human, it might be with a deity. And it's a religious song of which goes beyond conventional language in terms of melody. It's almost like with the lyrics and the melody that they use, which is bastardized, stroke adapted on your point of view from a hymn, the name of which I've forgotten, is that it is a religious celebration of life, and also a song about birth. Alternate Nights, the next song, was All Because of You, which is not the song that's on here. And All Because of You is a song about, again, birth and existence. The line that says, I'm alive, I'm being born, I want to go back to the place where I started, all because of you. It's a song about mothers and birth and pregnancy and being brought into the world. So all those songs, U2 construct their sets through thematic holes. And so we've got those songs going from Blackout through to Gloria, which are around birth, life, death, rebirth, and having the moments where you've got like that classic moment where you're looking reality in the face and trying to understand what it is. And I'm just going to kind of flick through the booklets that we've got for the various releases here, because otherwise it gets very boring looking at my lovely face. So I'll pretend to doing that. So that's the the imagery that you've got for the start of Blackout, which is the band playing silhouettes inside a screen. And then also above it some imagery that's taken from the Charlie Chaplin section of it. And there again some imagery from the Blackout at the top, and on the Lights of Home, Bono is singing on a ramp that seems to be pointed towards heaven as the show opens. Now the fifth song, most nights, was Beautiful Day. If you know Beautiful Day, you'll know it's the song that U2 have played at every show that they have played since they released it. Every major public show, certainly every show that they've charged you for tickets for. I've seen them play a show where they didn't play Beautiful Day, which was a 4-song TV set. But aside from that, every full-length U2 concert, Beautiful Day has been played since it's been released, and it's the only song that actually in U2's canon which has that status. So this here is the imagery from Cedarwood Road and Dirty Day up here. So Beautiful Day being a song of carpe diem, baby, seize the day, seize the moment. What a day to be alive. This could be the best day ever. There is no time not to be alive. And then Beautiful Day, depending upon which show of the tour you saw, it was either The Ocean or Dirty Day, or it went into something else. And The Ocean, which I saw the first night in Berlin, I've only seen them play it once, was gorgeous. The way that it faded into Beautiful Day, and the way that it faded out of Beautiful Day, and the way it faded out of the ocean into Iris is fantastic, and I'm very glad that I got to see it, but I wish they'd played it more. But at the same point, I'm glad that they didn't. So the show that we've got at this point, we're going into there's two sections now. If you're in the US, you saw the tour which had the reprise of the Cedarwood Road section of the show from the Innocence Tour, which is Cedarwood Road, Song for Someone, Sunday Bloody Sunday, Raised by Wolves. And that's a fantastic kind of bit where Bono is singing a song from the perspective of his childhood home and his childhood memories. By the time we got to the break in the second leg of the tour, that is in Europe, that section had been replaced, and over time that portion formed into a mini Zoo TV set. By the time we got to the last three shows in Dublin, the band were playing Dirty Day in between Beautiful Day and the song after that. And Dirty Day, by the way, is absolutely pivotal into understanding the show. Dirty Day is a song that has been recontextualised as being, originally I think I saw Dirty Day as being a song written to his father, and written to Bono's father about parenthood and the change that we've got for it. So, for example, you can see the childhood bedroom there that appears in Dirty Day. It also appears in the Cedarwood Road and Song for Someone parts of the set. And then by the time we got to Dirty Day, it then became, in 2018, a song about growing up, leaving home, a song from Bono as a father and the band as fathers to their children and their relatives, going, you are what will survive us and what will happen beyond us around that. So it's a really kind of dense bit of imagery, and it repeats some of the imagery that appears elsewhere in the show. So, for example, there's a light bulb, which appears frequently throughout the show, as an imagery, a piece of imagery around the idea being encapsulated in a light bulb. And then we've got the section where in Dirty Day it moves through to Zoo Station. Zoo Station being the place where you go to leave home. It's a point of transit. And Zoo Station being in Berlin, it was appropriate, of course, to film the DVD in Berlin, where Actual Baby was recorded. It was also the last show of the tour. And I kind of identified a lot with the Cedarwood Road section of the show. I identified a lot with the Zoo TV and Dirty Day section of the show, because Ireland in the 70s is not that far away from Birmingham in the 80s, where I grew up. Growing up in a big city, but not the centre of the universe. A place where it felt like the rest, where the action was somewhere else indeed. And it's a fantastic kind of reprise of the set was to see effectively a 4-song mini Zoo TV set halfway through the show. So they played Zoo Station, they followed it up, depending upon which show you went to, normally with The Fly, repeating the 1 and 2 Zoo Station Fly section, which was used in the 1992-93 and 2005-2006 shows. And then they followed it up with Stay, which is one of the most gorgeous ballads of all time. Stay is, it's an incredible song. I mean, there's a bit where it just says, there's something about that song. I can't really articulate why it's so good, really, but the lyrics are fabulous. And then the last song of the main portion of the first part of the show was Who's Gonna Ride Your Wild Horses. Who's Gonna Ride Your Wild Horses was played in an arrangement that was really powerful, and it kind of tied into the same themes that we had with Until the End of the World, that we had on the Innocence and eXperience tour. The imagery was roughly the same. There was visuals of waves, storms, and Who's Going to Ride Your Wild Horses is kind of like one of the great breakup songs, really. It was like saying, well, actually, I'm breaking up with you. Although Who's Going to Ride Your Wild Horses, to an extent, is kind of a song around, well, actually breaking up with your parents, moving out from your parents, because that's if you don't love your parents and your parents are good human beings, then perhaps there's an issue there. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. I don't rehearse what I'm saying when I do these, by the way. I just kind of open my mouth and words fall out for about 45 minutes. So that you come to the end of Who's Going to Ride Your Wild Horses, and then you move into an intermission section, which is the vocal of Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me. And Hold Me, Thrill Me, it's a remix by, I think, Jack Knife. I could be wrong, and it's got vocals by Arcade Fire and Gavin Friday on. It was released on the Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me 12-inch. Came out for Record Store Day in 2018. I've forgotten to bring it upstairs. I know I'd forget something, so I won't show it to you. I've got it downstairs alongside the 2019 Record Store Day EP as well, that features live material recorded on the tour and some remixes as well. Part 2 of the show opens with Elevation, and then it follows it up with Vertigo and Even Better Than the Real Thing. I have to be kind of fairly clear. I'm not a huge fan of Elevation. It's a hit. It's a great hit. It's great when it's played live. The room is bouncing, everybody's rocking. It's time to shout loud. He's a good. But also, it's, you know, lyrically, it's quite a vapid song. Vertigo is probably the song that's probably better, because Vertigo, as I've mentioned before, is around the screw tape letters. It deals with things like temptation and reality and the devil's bargain, and there's a lot of biblical imagery inside Vertigo, but really it all deals with a thing around madness, reality, ego, self-perception, which Bono addresses in the speech before Acrobat, where he goes, "Is a song more important than a chair?" You know, there's a thing that lies to you, and it tells you that, you know, you are more important than the person next door. You're more important than the nurses and the doctors and the bin men, and you're not really. And then somebody kind of taps you on the shoulder and goes, "Hey, you're still little Paul from Number 10." And when we got to the last show on the tour, which was Berlin, which is obviously on the DVD I'm now showing you, I wasn't ready for the tour to end. I mean, I've seen U2 a lot in the 3 years previously. I've seen them something like 30 times, and I still felt like there was a long way to go yet. This, by the way, on here, let's move the Berlin DVD out of the way, is a photograph from the Mirror Ball, showing what's on the stage when the band perform on the so-called E stage. There, what you can see is things like Upgrade and Half-Life, or Upgrade, World Peace, New Life, Pizza, and it's almost like that's the temptation that the devil's offering to you. Is a huge bunch of options, of course, which happens during Vertigo. So Even Better Than the Real Thing is the next song, and I've talked about Even Better Than the Real Thing pretty much on every tour, which I've talked about it, and how it kind of goes through how the band kind of dealt with reality and the perception thereof. Here's the eXperience and Innocence tour program. What a lovely photograph that is, isn't it? I love that one. That one should be in a gatefold of an album or something. And then the next song after that is Acrobat, and Acrobat was obviously the fan favourite that we all wanted to hear, that the band had never played, and they played it in 2018, and it bled right into and followed Even Better Than the Real Thing, with the perceptions around, you know, don't believe what you see, don't believe what you hear, you know, and you know, all that stuff around, well, is reality real? Is this real? Is what I'm experiencing real? So yeah, I think the band played it down a key to adapt to Bono's changing voice, but obviously it was 30 years, near enough, after it was recorded, before the band played it live. And then there was You're the Best Thing About Me, which is one of the loveliest love songs ever. It's just so silly, and sometimes, you know, when it came out, I saw the lyric video, I was in Swansea of all places for work, and I was like, sometimes the world gives you what you need and you don't even know that you need it. It's pretty it was like amazing sometimes how a song will somehow take the ideas out of your brain that you don't even know that you have, and you go, yes, that was the thing I was looking for, that was the feeling I was waiting for and trying to capture. And the other thing about the best thing, You're the Best Thing About Me, is there's a bit where Bono sings about, well, you're walking away, which ties into obviously I Will Follow's Walk Away, and I Will Follow lyric. Then there's the Summer of Love, and the Summer of Love is kind of like a transitionary song. In America, Summer of Love was what they played Staring at the Sun instead, but Summer of Love was a song which is around the refugee crisis, around the fact that no human is illegal, around the product of wars, which is obviously people that need to change where they live and how they live, which ties in with the speech at the beginning from the Great Dictator, and the idea is that we all deserve a home, and the imagery that's in the Summer of Love is almost like a loop of horror, because it's showing you violent political upheaval, wreckage, ruin, refugees, which reminds me both very much of the beginning of the show with the Charlie Chaplin sequence, but also with the section that appears in October as performed on the Innocence Tour, which is the footage and wreckage that there is from a war zone. I used to know which one it was, but I don't now, which was drone footage. We moved out of there into, I think effectively there's two more sequences in the show. So the first sequence, Blackout Throw to Gloria, is around life, death, crisis, birth, and the section running from Beautiful Day through to Wild Horses is around confusion and maturity. The third section of the set is Hold Me through to Even Better Than the Real Thing, which is about the gap between reality and not reality, which also bleeds into Acrobat. And then there's The Best Thing, which stands on its own as a lovely, sincere love song. And then the last part of the set starts with Summer of Love, and it's around politics and unity. And there are some people that go, "Oh, mate, Bono, politics again. Oh, do you have to?" And the answer is yes. The clue is even in the name of the band, U2. Us, everyone together, all of us, everyone. And there's it's followed with Pride, which is the song around Martin Luther King, human rights, a dream big enough to fit the whole world in, as Bono said when he performed the song live, and followed up by Get Out of Your Own Way, which is a late period classic. I absolutely love Get Out of Your Own Way, apart from the stupid bit with Kanye at the end, or is it Kanye or somewhere else? I don't care. It's awful. The idea of Get Out of Your Own Way is effectively almost a plea to humanity and to mankind, and to go, we need to remove the imaginary barriers that exist between people, because actually there's no such thing as a nation. A nation is an imaginary concept invented by politics. If you look at what's going on under the water, the only thing that makes difference between one country and another is maybe a flag or a fence, or maybe the fact that the ground goes underneath the water for a bit, and that makes the difference. We're all part of one earth, one world, and we're one, but we're not the same. And it's in Europe, Get Out of Your Own Way was followed by New Year's Day, and New Year's Day has been reimagined, I think, for this tour. It was remixed. Parts of the 12-inch version were used in the set, and the beginning of New Year's Day saw a beautiful bit of imagery, which I will have to go and find in the book. I'm going to go and find it in one of the books now, which was the European flag. Here it is. This shot was taken in the UK, because only the shows in the UK had the UK highlighted there with a heart around it, and the UK flag being specified. Now, the beginning of the song New Year's Day quoted from a track called Ode to Joy, and the lyrics to Ode to Joy make it pretty clear what the song is about, and it's not a coincidence. There are very few coincidences in U2 shows. The lyrics to Ode to Joy, which is the European Union anthem, include the lines, "Thy magic power reunites all that custom has divided, all men become brothers under the sway of thy gentle wings," which was the bridging section between New Year's Day and City of Blinding Lights. And another part of the lyric for the vocal version of Ode to Joy, when translated, reads as, "You millions, I embrace you. This kiss is for all the world. I, brothers, above the starry canopy, there must dwell a loving father." Now, that's pretty unambiguous, that lyric is about the idea that all nations must come together, must work as one. We're all part of one nation, one world, one identity, and that is how it works. And then also, obviously, the idea of a loving father ties in with the notion of God. And it's not religious, it's not preachy, it's very subtle, but if you do the work, it's there. It really is there, and it's all there for you to see if you're prepared to do the work. U2 expects you to bring your brains to a show, they also expect you to bring your feet and your air guitar. So it's not necessarily too much of a reach to say that that's what it is around. Now, City of Blinding Lights, last song of the main set, is all around unity and the city where we are and the place that we are in, the town that we're in. It's all together, it's all one, and you look so beautiful tonight. That's a lovely graphic. I wish I'd focused on that more. Is the line "free yourself to be yourself, if only you could be yourself," and yeah, it's a very important lyric. I think it's got meaning to lots of people, that lyric, and that lyric is tattooed on some people, and for a good reason. Now, the main part of the set comes to a close there. It's followed up by a performance of a track called "Women of the World Take Over." And "Women of the World Take Over" is, an important song about how the fact that, sexism, poverty is sexism is evil, and the line is, I think, what is it? I can't remember what was on the screens at the time, but it was like "respect existence or expect resistance," and it's very, very true. Now, this, by the way, the return of Mephisto. Guess who's back? Back again. Mephisto being a Zoo TV character who appeared in 1993. He also appeared in the 2018 tour as a kind of like a political agitator stroke character that Bono played on stage. The idea being that actually Mephisto is clearly indicated as being a force of mischievous evil, possibly inspired again by, as I've mentioned before, the Screwtape Letters, and the songs that he sings, Acrobat, even better than the real thing. They're songs around reality and division, and they tie directly into the political section of the show as well. The encore normally is 3 songs on the tour. It's normally 1, "Love is Bigger Than Anything in Its Way," and 13. Sometimes you get "Landlady" as well, which is a song of love around how the relationships that people have empower them to be themselves, and so on and so forth. But 1 is normally the song that was played as the main first song after the encore. Obviously, everybody knows 1. It's one of those songs that is going to survive all of us and very possibly everything ever. The penultimate song of the show was almost always "Love is Bigger Than Anything in Its Way." "Love is Bigger Than Anything in Its Way" it's a legacy track. It's U2 aiming for greatness and hitting it. It's a late period classic, and part of it is handing the baton on to the next generation. It's the idea that love is bigger than anything in its way, in the same way that I think, what is it, the last lyric on a Beatles record released in their lifetime was, "In the end, the love you make is equal to the love that you take," or something along those lines. I don't recall exactly, but it's very much a song in that kind of thing. It's a very obvious song, but it's also very hooky, full of fantastic lyrics and little sections in it, and it's the kind of song that the postman would whistle. If postman's whistles these days, I don't know, but that's it's a song that's designed to be anthemic. It's designed to be a song that communicates. Now, the video for "Love is Bigger Than Anything in Its Way" that was shown during this tour was a picture was a series of pictures of couples in and around Ireland, gay, straight, bisexual, trans, whatever. They're all human. Trans rights are human rights, by the way, in my opinion. And I think U2 also made that point in the particular video for "Love is Bigger Than Anything in Its Way," which they showed and broadcast on the screen. Now, I don't want to get too deep into that, but what it is, it's about, love is a universal human right, and people should expect it. By the way, this is the image that I used for the beginning of the video. "Hello, strangers out there in the internet. I'm peeking through a cross." Last song, 13, "There Is a Light." It is effectively a rewrite of "Song for Someone." It features, pretty much the same chorus. The song ends with Bono effectively standing next to a model of his childhood home, and I'll show you, the photograph, which is shown, or more. I'll show you a photograph I took. So the tour, by the way, if you see the tour from the roof, or not on the ground floor, you get to see a very different experience. So, for example, that is, a model of Bono's childhood home with a map projected of Bono's childhood streets on it, and he's there singing to his childhood house at the end with the very last song, which ties into the first song from the Innocence and Experience tour. And the Innocence of Experience tour started with Bono walking through the crowd, singing The Miracle of Joey Ramone, and singing songs about his childhood home. The last song on the Innocence and Experience tour, 13, brings us full circle round to Bono singing a song to his childhood home, or a model of his childhood home, surrounded by the streets in which he grew up. And then at the end of the show, the roof opened on the house and a light went up into the ceiling of the venue, effectively the same light that came down during Vertigo, the punk rock song at the beginning part of the Innocence and Experience tour. You end up this photograph here on the cover of the London O2 Arena bootleg CD, features Bono singing the end of song for Someone, stroke 13, to the childhood home below him and the light bulb before it disappears into the ceiling. This is an IEM recording. IE is an in-ear monitor, so it sounds basically like a mixing desk recording. Somehow people record the IEMs by also there's a hearing induction loop that's provided for people who have restricted hearing. Come to the show, it says tune into this frequency, and I think you can hear the show better on your hearing aids. And sometimes people record those as well. Very cheeky, but I'm not complaining because it makes for fantastic quality recordings of the band's performances. This is a bootleg CD recorded at the first night of the O2 Arena, the 23rd of October 2018. Fairly standard set list there. This is the CD recorded at the second night at the O2 Arena. Again, an IEM recording. You kind of open it up and it shows some extra shots from the tour. Not necessarily the show that you saw, but very definitely the show that somebody saw and that somebody happened. And it's getting more and more difficult to buy the unofficial CDs. There are certain record shops that I own in mainland Europe that you can find them. In fact, all Europe is mainland Europe now, because there isn't an off-land, is there, now that the UK has left the European Union. And the show starts where it ends. There were 3 official releases from this tour, by the way. The first one to be released in 2019 was this, Innocence and Experience, which is the live songs from the Innocence album and the Experience album, recorded at various shows, presented in the same order as the albums. So there's 11 songs of Innocence, and there's 12 songs of Experience, which means that there is 1 song of Experience that hasn't been performed, and there's about 3 or 4 maybe of Innocence which haven't been performed live. Now, I showed you the booklets to these earlier on. This was a fan club release. Membership of the U2 fan club is about $40, and for that you get an exclusive bit of tat. Some days it's a book, some days it's some prints. Last year it was the Live in Berlin DVD from the very last show on the tour. I was at this, and to me, being at being present at a show that was being recorded and released was almost the fulfillment of a childhood ambition. When I was a child and I was watching, or a teenager, and I'd never seen the bands that I loved, and I'd never seen, the idea of being in the same room as the people that wrote songs that changed your life, songs that made the world better for you when the world was really tough. I'd watch like the VHS tapes of Live in Sydney, or for example, Depeche Mode's 101, or New Order, or The Cure and Orange especially. I'd watch them and I think one day I might get to be in a room and see that band play live. The fact that I've been able to see those bands play live dozens of times, I mean, it blows my mind, really. It's like I have got to live my equivalent of a dream. When some people are younger and they go, well, I want to go and see the mountains, or I want to go and see the Sahara Desert, or the pyramids, or the Sphinx, or I want to see the Great Wall of China. For me, the 7 wonders of the world are going to see bands that I love play songs that have changed my life, and I want to be in the room when they do that. And being able to see U2 play the show in Berlin, the last show of the Experience and Innocence tour in Berlin, to me, that's a bucket list moment. It's like I get to see the band I love play the songs I love, play the songs that changed my world. And not only that, The show I see with my own eyes gets to be released as a DVD. It gets to be captured forever. Now, I can see me in the crowd shots for here. You probably can't because you don't necessarily know how I was dressed. But I know where I was in the crowd and I know what I was wearing, and I can see myself in a few shots. And I'm like, I'm, I'm, I'm in a thing. I'm in, you know, when I was younger, I was like, I want to be there. And obviously, when these are released, I'm now like, I was there. It's the fulfillment of ambition, really, for me. Now, my ambitions, okay, I've still got world peace and everything else. I still want all of that, but also I want to get to see the bands that I love live. And I'm sure post-COVID, we will all get to be in a room together again, singing, crying, hugging, whatever, and getting to experience the songs played by the people that have made them, songs that have changed our lives and have made tough days, tough years bearable. You know, in the period which I had running from 2nd of April 2007 to 26th of October 2016, that was a really tough, hard decade. You know, I had great support and great people around me, but also I had music that I loved, and the music was always there when other things which I thought I could rely on sometimes let me down. And so the idea that I get to be in the same room as U2's, I get to be I get to be in the crowd when the band played. Not only these songs for the last time, and at the time this show happened, nobody knew that there were going to be more shows, by the way. And there was only 15 Joshua Tree shows in, Japan, Australia, maybe New Zealand, Korea, India, places like that after this. So to get to see the last indoor show that U2 played for a very long time indeed, I was like, I am living inside what I always wanted to experience when I was younger. It's one hell of an experience. And obviously having the memories in my mind of the Berlin show and experiencing that show and then being able to watch it on video or DVD afterwards, it's not something which I thought I would get to do. And I wasn't ready to say goodbye to U2 on that last show. I was like, I still want more. I still want more. I was just greedy, really. Even getting to see U2 once is a pretty amazing experience, in my opinion. I'm sure you out there in YouTube land have bands that you love, that you've seen, and you're like, there is no other place in the planet I want to be than in this room right now with that band playing that song. And pretty much every time I saw U2, I'm like, there is no other place on the planet I want to be. There's literally no other place on the planet that exists that I want to be apart from here. And then to have that captured on the DVD is a pretty amazing experience, really. The last fan club release which came out is this, a double CD, by the way. U2 live at the Apollo, taken for the American leg of the tour. The band played a one-off show in the middle of the tour at the Apollo in Harlem, broadcast on Sirius XM. And it's a special non-tour set list. So they're bringing back some songs that they haven't played for quite some time. So, for example, the Electric Co, which I think was only been played once before on the tour. Angel of Harlem, Desire, When Love Comes to Town, haven't been played on the tour. Stuck in a Moment, Every Breaking Wave. Those songs hadn't been played on the tour either. So it was a completely reconfigured, unique set list for a once-in-a-lifetime experience to see U2 play to a very small audience. I wasn't at this show, but that's okay. I have been a lucky bastard in many other ways, and I'm very, very grateful for it. This was released very, very recently. It came out in the past couple of weeks. The Apollo double CD. It also came with a face mask and some postcards, which I've forgotten to show you, but trust me, they exist and they are real. And it has photographs from the show. The band played a kind of like a short 11-song set, and then they played 4 songs with the Sun Ra Orchestra, I believe it was. I could be wrong there as to the name of who they are. They'd flown in from Australia that day, and then they played Every Breaking Wave, which is the last time to date I think that they performed it on that 2018 tour. So they didn't play it at all in 2018 or 2017, apart from this one show, and I think maybe a one-off elsewhere when they played a set on a beach acoustically. So it's the last public performance of Every Breaking Wave in an indoor venue, and the only one of only 2 public appearances that song made in 2018. and then they close the show with the encore of Who's Gonna Ride Your Wild Horses, which had opened an encore in Oklahoma, the opening night of the tour, and then the last song being Love Is Bigger Than Anything in Its Way. I'm going to wrap up here. I think this period of time, it is a brilliant time to be a U2 fan. They played so many shows, so many songs. They toured constantly. As I said, they played 217 shows in 3.5 years. They played 91 separate songs. They did 4 American tours, 3 European tours. They did the Joshua Tree tour in the middle of it as well. So the Innocence tour was them showing us where they'd come from. The Joshua Tree tour was them showing us what they'd seen on the way. The eXperience tour was the arrival, what we got at the end of the journey. And sometimes the point of the journey is not to arrive, as Rush would have it. That brings my long-running series of me talking about every U2 album and tour to a close. I will probably do one more episode where I do a ranking, and inevitably some of you will disagree with me if I do a ranking about that. But in the meantime, if you are a fan of U2 and you're not a member of the fan club, you can join now. You can get this. If they've still got any stock left, you can get that live in Berlin, and this you can find on Discogs and eBay. It's been a lovely experience talking about one of my favourite bands for you, and I haven't even shown you yet. Here is the Berlin t-shirt from the show where Bono lost his voice, the night where we thought perhaps it might all be over for U2. I've barely talked about the show where Bono lost his voice. I'm just very glad that the guy could sing again, because there was some confusion and we weren't quite sure if there was going to be a U2 show ever again after that. Thank you for spending so many hours listening to me talk about a band I love. I will see you again soon.